September. We are in the process of trying to get our winter onions planted. Going in this bed that had spuds in earlier in the year. It had been dug over, luckily before we got all the dry weather, but it hadn't been sorted out around the edges, so I've quickly sorted out around the edges. It's now going to get a little bit of a hoe before we decide how to space out our winter onions. So once we've got to that stage, I'll come back. We've got our hoard, we've decided on our onion spacing, so we're going to have one row of Sensu yellow, one row of I think it's radar. Yes, radar, and then down the middle we're going to have our white Casablanca garlic. Because it's so dry, I'm going to put some water in each trench before we add a bit of grow more and some compost just to fill the trenches and make it a bit easier to put our onions in. So as you can see, we've had a trial spacing, and then
we had some really good onions last year, and the only difference that we can identify as to what we did differently was to add grow more to the soil instead of fish blood and bone. So we're repeating that now. I hope it has the same effect this year. It's quite funny with onions because I've spent the last 2 days cleaning off the dead skins from the onions that were planted in summer, well, in spring rather, and now we're getting ready to plant the autumn planted onions. It seems to be there's always something to do with onions. So now that the trenches have got fish blood, not fish blood and bone. Now that the trenches have got grow more in, the next thing is Martin's going to put some of this, is it topsoil? Topsoil that we got to try and improve where we're planting the onions. So now the trenches are being filled with some topsoil that we bought in. It's not a lot of point going to a lot of effort to grow things if you don't give them the best start that you can. So that's what we hope we're doing. The trenches have now been filled with topsoil, so now we're going to pop the onions and the garlic in. We've got 2 varieties of onions. We've got radar, we've got 30 of those, 30 sets, and they're quite nice big sets. We've got 43 Senshu, a little bit smaller. They're sort of done by weight, so those are a little bit smaller than the radar. And then we've got about 30 decent cloves of white Casablanca garlic.
So we'd had a trial spacing, hadn't we, with the larger ones?
I mean, these are quite well spaced apart, really, but
we might as well fill the bed, hadn't we?
So let's get those in. I'm going to put these in the middle, I think, and I don't have to lean over them for the other ones.
I thought garlic might go down the middle.
Do you want me to put the garlic down the middle then?
I just thought it was easier.
So it's just a case of pushing them into the soil. I probably push them in a bit deeper than people recommend, but doesn't seem to do any harm. So I'll just get on and do that, shall I?
Yep. The other onions and our garlic's going in. So the garlic bulbs have been separated into individual cloves, and of course you need to make sure the base of it goes in first, point a bit upwards usually, otherwise you might have upside down garlic if you're lucky at all. Not only are they getting a water underneath, they're going to get a watering in as well, just to make sure. I've been checked, there's not a lot of rain in our forecast, so it's probably worth giving them a good watering in. And the other thing we're going to have to do, I think, is do something to cover them up, because I think the birds will have a field day in that. This is a bed that's been dug over for a few weeks now, and the birds have been in here having a bath. Amazing how the birds have a bath in dry soil, but that's what they do. This will be covered with weed control fabric for over winter, so I'm not too worried about the weeds. I'll just cover them up and they'll die off over winter. We've done our weekend now to hopefully get a good crop of garlic and winter onions. It's really down to what sort of winter we get, I think, as to whether we get a decent crop or not. I think they'd like a drop of rain at the moment. I'd be happy for that to happen. But the environment mesh is just on to stop the birds once they're through and starting to push some little green shoots through. I'll just take that off, hopefully 2 or 3 weeks, and they should have started. So there we are then, that's our winter onions planted for this year. Thanks. Right then, look at today's harvest. We've got our first sweet corn that we're going to try. Can't remember the variety, I think it might be Early King. We've got some all gold raspberries, Loch Ness blackberries, some very large ones, a few weedy red raspberries, Joan J they are. Then the tomatoes in the 2 smaller trays are Crimson Crush, and the ones in the larger trays are Shirley. We've picked some broad beans, some autumn cropping broad beans, Lutz de Tono I think they're called. A variety of sizes and types of courgettes, some which look as though they're destined for the compost heap rather than the cooking table or kitchen. We've got some peas, some petits pois, they're terrain, and finally some onward peas. The pea plants are going a bit mildewy, but we think the peas will still be okay. So still harvesting quite well, but certainly things are now coming to an end as autumn progresses. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. you.